Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
Hey everybody, welcome to another landmark episode of Freed on Business. This is episode 850. Boy, am I proud. I want to go through and thank everybody for watching the show for 17, 18 years at this point. I want to welcome everybody. It's show 850 for this milestone. I want to thank everybody. I want to remind everybody that we're streaming on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram. You can find us at Freed on Business or at Jim Freed. Now, remember, we're talking about milestones in my 17 years of history. I want to thank our main sponsor, Warren Henry Automotive, who's been with us for at least 15 years at this point. And now back to show number 850. We all got our start one rainy evening down at what was then, I guess, the Southeast Financial Center. They had a fancy restaurant at the top. I got a call from my good friend, Ron Mann, who said, "Hey, you want to come down and do a business interview on my podcast?" I said, on my radio show. I said, "What's all that? There's a business radio station here?" He goes, "Yeah." So I went down there. It was raining. It was the I guess the great financial crisis is what we call it these days. We call it Lehman Brothers crisis back then. And I go there. I sit next to Ron, and Ron goes, "We'll have Jim Freed talking about the condo crash right after this." And I go, "Which one of the exploding cigars do you want me to talk about, Ron?" And then we went to break, and excuse me, George Guevara came up to me and said, "You need to be on the radio show." I said, "What are you talking about?" And since then, we've been on the radio, 880 AM, and now podcasting and video blogging. Our first sponsor was Mike Marino, who was doing foreclosure defense, which tells you when it was in the old days. And other people that have been involved from the technical aspect include Tony Cayuta. I can never get that right. Thanks, Miami Podcast Studios. Jim Golgalski. I want to remind everybody we were at episode 500 thanks to Jim at the Ball and Chain down on 8th Street. We had all kinds of folks that helped me put the podcast technically together, including Larry, Mike T., Wanda Miles, and of course, Mr. Regan Mendoza, Mr. Mendoza, who's recently given way to our good friends at Miami Podcast Studios, who's sitting right over there. High five to Miami Podcast Studios, fist bump. There it is. I even saw that on the show. That was well done. And we've gone through all kinds of formats. First, it was a regular radio show with 4 breaks in 15-minute segments. We did listener emails. We did, I read the news. Boy, I tried to learn how to do everything, but the formats evolved. Once COVID hit, we went, Mr. Mendoza said to me, "Hey, Jim, have you ever heard of Zoom?" I go, "What's that?" Well, we started doing Zoom broadcasts during COVID. I was broadcasting out of my condo and stayed broadcasting out of my condo most of the time, except for a few remotes, until Miami Podcast Studios had me come into their podcast studio here in Edgewater. We started doing it live from their podcast studios. So now we're doing great stuff. We've got a great technical setup, and we've had all kinds of sponsors. Like I said, the original sponsor, Mike Marino. Then we quickly got Warren Henry Automotive. We've had the University of Florida Bertram Center for Real Estate Studies has been with us since the beginning as well. We had Florida Blue, thanks to our friend Doug Bartello. I forgot to thank our friends at Warren Henry Automotive, Larry, Ismet, Eric, Dave, of course, Warren, and all the service department folks. And we had University of Miami Health Center. U-Health is what we call it. That was Pascal Goldschmidt. Thank you to Dr. Pascal. We've had the Marlins. We've had the Dolphins. Got all kinds of tickets to those games back in the day when the Dolphins really were like, what was it? 1 in 17, 1 in 16, 1 in 15. Well, we had lots of tickets. Miami Podcast Studios used to go with me to that too. Well, we had a great time. I want to thank our social media folks. We've had great social media help from our first social media person was Johnny305, God rest his soul. We also had Blanca Stella Mejia, who taught me what a tweet up was. Can you imagine? I didn't even know what a tweet up was back in the day. We've had Andre Seni, who still is broadcasting on his podcast, and he's doing that with our good friend, our good friend Rebecca Carlson, who helps put our emails and websites and everything together. So now we're here. We're live at Miami Podcast Studios. I'm turning around. You can't see the great facility we have here. And all of this effort was recognized by NewsFunnel, who made us a top 10 influencer in commercial real estate, I guess, for the decade of the 10s to the 20s. Other people who've really been influential have been Bruce Turkel, who's been on teaching us personal branding topics for a long, long time. On the real estate standpoint, we've had everybody from Kobe Karp to Jim McCarthy to Ethan Penner. Ethan Penner, my gosh, talk about one of the originators. He founded Nomura Real Estate and basically came up with how to do commercial real estate mortgage-backed securities. We had John Portman, the great architect. We have Brian Gale always talking to us about office. One of the best shows we've ever done was Brian Gale and Bob Orban talking about the future of Brickell Avenue. Of course, we've had Malcolm Butters on talking about industrial, Don Ginsberg talking about residential, Mike Fay, our favorite, one of the best personalities of all time, John Crossman on retail, and of course, Ed Cairo on residential mortgage. For real estate e-technology, we cutting edge. Before there was ever AI, we had Olivia Ramos on talking to us about AI and the metaverse and all this other stuff. We've had young people talking on the show, everybody from Simon Kofsky to all the young people from the University of Florida Center for Real Estate Studies. In the family office space, we've had Wendy Kraft. Wendy is one of the very few people that really is a family office person from the beginning. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart Wendy Kraft from teaching me how to do business in the family office space. And I've recently been hired by two, going on now, hopefully a third family office to be a consultant for them. So it's been really, really wonderful there. Oh, and I want to go back to Bruce Turkel for a moment, because Bruce Turkel taught me a very important lesson. One time I was having a day of heartbreak going, this podcast, I've done this podcast, a radio show. I never get any business out of, I don't get clicks. I don't get anything like that. P.S. We've now been downloaded 7,500 times only in the last 5 years, which I think is pretty good. But Bruce said, Jim, have you ever gotten any business from the podcast? And the answer to that is, of course. I've gotten a tremendous amount of business from the podcast. He goes, so what do you care about clicks? And that's, you got to, in life, understand what your goals and objectives are. And if your goal and objective is to use this for personal branding, like I've done with Bruce, and, it's been very effective for that. I've had many people say, hey, I already know you because I've watched your podcasts. In fact, it's helped me get a whole lot of business, especially in the family office space where personal relationships are extraordinarily important. Now, we've been with Lisa Paley. I want to thank Lisa again, Miami Podcast Studios. You've been there too. Miami Book Fair, Lisa Paley got me back together with my college friend, James Grapondo. We've interviewed James twice now about his books. I love them because every time I read his book, I sit on my balcony and I see all of the different locales where it's set, including the locale that you see right behind us, actually. We had one of my all-time heroes, Dolphin great Ed Newman. I actually told one of the current Miami Dolphin linemen that they needed to read Ed Newman's book. What a great book it was, especially if you've been around and remember when the Dolphins last were, I guess it was once time before last, when they won the perfect season. They talk about that in Ed Newman's book, and Ed Block for Dan Marino also was great. And I got to meet Ed in person at the book fair last year. It's been very effective for a number of our listeners. At least two people have gotten jobs off of the podcast. One person called in, heard me interviewing Mike Fay, called Mike Fay up. Mike Fay hired him, and now this person's making very good money with Mike Fay at Avison Young. And another person called in while I was interviewing John Crossman, and John gave that gentleman a job. And of course, there's all the people that I've interviewed from the University of Florida Center for Real Estate Studies that have basically used their interview on my podcast to introduce themselves to me and to help me position them to get new jobs and actually new careers. I want to thank some of our medical guests. We've had, of course, Dr. Pascal Goldschmidt from the University of Miami. We had Dr. Wolf on, Dr. Carlos Wolf, who actually, you're going to love this when we do this Miami Podcast Studios. We're going to go back and do some more live broadcasts with Dr. Carlos Wolf. Look back in my Freedom Business, what do you call those? The old the library, and you'll see Dr. Wolf injecting me with Botox more than once. Oh my God, I can't believe I actually let him do that. We've had Dr. Andrew Sherman. When COVID came on, Dr. Sherman came on, and he told us how to do exercises during COVID. He's a physiatrist over at the University of Miami Health System. He's the guy who helps me keep my back in order. And of course, we had my favorite doctor, Dr. Gutt, who talked about his painless procedures in oral surgery. Dr. Gutt to this day is one of my closest and dearest friends. We've had, as a transitional period from medical, we've had Matt Gold on. Matt Gold talked to us about Medicare, Medicaid, and I'm in the process of working on that right now. And I got to tell you, you need all the guidance you can get on that. It's absolutely the most convoluted, difficult thing to figure out. In the law field, we have our regular family office guest, Tom Handler, probably the preeminent, well, not probably, he is the preeminent family office attorney for wealth protection. He's got all kinds of famous clients. You can go to his website at the Handler Law Firm and look at all of them. Our 1000th interview was Cesar Alvarez. With Cesar, Abogado Gigante is what I called him on the show. We talked about how he transformed the corporate culture at Greenberg Traurig and made it all inclusive and had all these different lawyers, and he made sure that they all projected his brand. It was terrific. Of course, we've also had our good friend Robert Zarco, who's very involved here in the community, the top franchise and litigation attorney here in town, and one of my all-time favorites, John Morgan. You know him, the people's lawyer. John Morgan was on just recently. I want to thank, of course, my good friend from college, John Morgan, as well. And other doctors we've had on, Dr. Paula had a regular segment, women's mental health, for quite some time. And I have to give a very big high five. Many years, we had Dr. Victor Franks, the PhD in naturopathic medicine. He was amazing, helped keep me healthy. I still use all the things that Dr. Franks taught me. Really can't thank him enough. On the real estate and education side, we just did an episode on the education fund, helping public education get promoted here and raise money here in South Florida. And I want to thank them for giving me the award for being one of the top public education products and being successful here in business. And of course, our long time since our first episode, our relationship with the Kelly Bergstrom Center for Real Estate Study, Tim Becker, Kelly Bergstrom, Nathan Collier, all our friends at the University of Florida, John Cannon. I want to thank them. We've gone up there many times, done the broadcast live from WRUF studios, where I've interviewed a couple times Joe Glover and talked to him about the future of the University of Florida. That was really terrific. But there's been one accomplishment above all that makes every single one of these episodes and every investment that I've ever made in doing these podcasts worth it. And that's our interviews that we've done with our friends from Project Renewal that helped us create content. Our friend Beanie Mason, who donated her kidney to the person that invented Iron Dome. I call that the Iron Dome kidney. Thank you for Greg for putting me together with Beanie. And we use social media to find my wife's kidney transplant. Thank you so much to Betty DiMartini for hearing our call. And again, realizing how I projected what my wife and I were all about into social media and what that all meant. And if you stick with us, I'll come back with the biggest and most important thank you and one of the biggest lessons I've learned from doing these podcasts and radio shows. So stick with us. I'm going to turn it over to Miami Podcast Studios for a word from our sponsor, and then we'll be back with the bottom line. Hi, everybody. It's been 850 great episodes. Most of them have been sponsored by our good friends at Warren Henry. I want to thank our friends at Warren Henry Automotive for allowing me the honor of being their brand ambassador for 15 plus years at this point. I want to thank everybody from Larry, Warren, Eric, all the way to Ismet, to Fernando and Frank and all the people on the service line, all of my friends at Warren Henry Automotive. They've made my transportation life wonderful for the past 20 years, way before they were ever sponsors on the show. Remember meeting Larry when he was the F&I guy there back in the day. When you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you go to Warren Henry. The bottom line with that is because they make you part of the family. They stick with you. They're always there. They pick up the phone. They solve your problems, and they make sure that you feel like you're getting great attention and great service from the day you buy your car. They guarantee you're going to get a great price, the best price. They're going to guarantee you get the best price on your lease. They're going to give you all these great service things. I've got my clients, my beautiful wife, Vivian, lots and lots of my friends, my mom. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. They've got their great headquarters store at 151st and Biscayne. They've got a store up in Gainesville that sells Audis. They've got a store down in Key West, sells all their great nameplates, and they've got a whole bunch of nameplates. They've got award-winning Land Rover, Range Rover stores in South Dade and West Broward. And you've got to go see my friends at Warren Henry Automotive. Please mention that you heard about it on Freedom Business. I've gone to conventions and people go, Warren Henry. They come up and they go, Warren Henry, now leave me alone. I listen to your podcast. Enough is enough already. And then they crack up and they walk away. So remember, always the best price, always the best service. Thank you, thank you, thank you to our friends at Warren Henry Automotive.
Welcome back to Freedom Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freedom Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
So I've learned a lot of things here on the podcast. First of all, reach out to me, Jim Freed. I help family offices and high net worth investors in real estate and private equity create and implement their business plans. We're working with a number of families right now. We can create a structure that works for you, helps you solve your biggest issues after we help you identify what they are. And so reach out to me. You got my phone number down there. You got my email down there. Reach out to me. And now back to the show. And we're going to talk about the bottom line now. Before we really go through that, what I've learned most on the podcast is that can't really make a mistake. Barrel through it. I've done 850 of these now, and I'm able to be fast on my feet. It's really helped me in communication in business and in personal life. It's really helped me promote many beautiful things here in our community and nationwide. But the bottom line is the biggest achievement that I've had here is helping my wife find her kidney and helping to project that and create an awareness here in South Florida and around the country and actually the world about kidneys. The kidney thing has gone from Houston to California to Alaska, all the way around the world. People at Jackson, where we were getting tested, asked me to please stop talking about it because they were getting too many requests for time, and the insurance company would only allow them to test one person at a time. So the biggest achievement that we've had here on Freedom Business has been getting the love of my life, the thing that the sun revolves around as far as I'm concerned, Vivian Freed, getting her kidney. And a couple of things that the show taught me was that you have to have value system alignment, and that's what I have with my wife. My wife and I may not see eye to eye on the micro minute-to-minute things. Most husbands and wife have their little things that they may disagree on, like you bought me this for dinner instead of that or whatever. But the big things my wife and I are aligned on. We are right there. My wife and I are tied at the hip. And when you're going through something as tough as that kidney transplant or the other things in life that are really tough, the number one thing is that value system alignment. And my wife and I, we've got it. I love you, baby, and thank you for believing in me. The whole podcast actually came from my wife. The whole idea was my wife. In fact, my wife helped me land Warren Henry Automotive as my sponsor. But now the bottom line. And the bottom line is I want to thank you, the listener. Without you, I wouldn't have a podcast. I wouldn't have a radio show. Wouldn't have my sponsors. Wouldn't have done this for so long. But I get all kinds of great feedback all the time about the podcast. And Mr. Bruce Turkel taught me what the baseline of this podcast is all about. And what that is that it's all about you, the listener. I listen to what you say. I put on things that you want to hear about. I respond to the feedback that I get texted and emailed and blasted at with me on LinkedIn and everything else. I've been downloaded 7,500 times, which for just an ordinary Joe, I think is pretty spectacular. And that's only been in the last 5 years. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me, to download the podcast, to give me your feedback, to give me your love, to give me your criticism. But more importantly, for just spending that time with me and helping me project what I think is important into the world and joining with me. So remember, if you missed today's episode, you can look it up on any of our legacies, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. You can find me at Jim Frieden at Frieden Business. You can go over to wherever you get your podcasts and look for Jim Fried at Jim Fried, YouTube station, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you listen to your audio, you should find me. Check out all of our past episodes. I think you'll kind of like them, actually. I want to thank Warren Henry Automotive. Thank you, Larry, Warren, Eric, all the friends of Warren Henry for being a sponsor. And thank you to the Bergstrom Center for Real Estate Studies. And thank you to Kelly Bergstrom for giving me my start in business so long ago with my internship between my first and second year of the MBA program. And remember, the person wants to do something, finds a way. The other finds an excuse. So go out there and make it happen. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Miami Podcast Studios, the rest of the show is yours. Go do your magic.